Hey, welcome to Things We Dig movie review. My name is Chris.
How's it going, guys? It's Dave.
I
Steve?
see you. Oh, fuck. So, Steve just going,
Steve?
I see you. It's Alex.
Alrighty, good to see your faces, fellas. So today we're gonna jump into a movie review, Avatar: Way of the Water. This is the sequel to the 2009 James Cameron film. Little synopsis on the movie: good old Jake Sully is living the life with his wife Neytiri and their kids, living a peaceful life, trying to find their way in the Na'vi world where the Sky People return, and a threat is upon Jake and his family. So they have to search for new lands, new people, individuals who are more water breed, and just them getting into the midst of battle with the Sky People. Alrighty, fellas. So, Way of the Water, we waited 13 years for it. Do you guys think it was worth the wait?
I'm not like torn. I'm kind of like how I feel with the first one because I am really impressed by how it looked and just the attention to detail that it takes to make this movie. And overall, I did enjoy the film and the story. I don't think it's like the most amazing thing ever, but I do respect the fuck out of the whole entire process that goes into making this film. But that being said, though, I mean, I did enjoy watching it. How did you guys feel just overall? I mean, how'd you feel about that 13-year wait between the films?
I definitely was not prepared for it. I think 3 hours was a long time, but I didn't find myself necessarily bored. I think my body just got uncomfortable because I'm getting old, but I was pretty blown away from it. I hadn't seen a lot of 3D movies, and I mean, visually, it was pretty awesome. And I mean, thinking more how James Cameron really is pushing the boundaries in movies, it was great. And I haven't been to the movie theaters in over a year, so it was truly nice to get back.
3 hours, I say give me 4 hours of this. Yeah, so they were shooting this movie actually for 3 years, it's been 13, but, took, multiple setbacks, multiple delays, waiting for the right technology to, do the motion capture underwater, and, I would say this movie tops the first one for me in almost every way.
Yeah, I would say as much as I enjoyed the first Avatar film, I wasn't like a super fan. So going into it, truly am excited because it's one of those blockbuster movies. I'm always excited for a blockbuster type of movie, especially James Cameron, big fan of his work. So initially I was kind of like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, I'll go check it out. Visually, it's going to be great. And, I'll agree with you, Steve. I was blown away. I mean, just watching the first one, revisiting it, the night before to kind of get refreshed, and I'm like, "Oh, these graphics still hold up well even after 13 years." It was, pretty revolutionary what he did with the first film. In the second film, just right off the bat, you're like, "Damn," like just immersed in it. And I'd say, visually it does keep your attention. 3 hours did fly by. Maybe towards the end, it sort of I wouldn't say dragged on, but you could feel the runtime of it. But I would say James Cameron kept the plot pretty simple and maybe, relied more so on the nonstop and the fast pace of the movie. And, as we mentioned, just the water scenes, when they're with I would say, I'm not remembering their exact name, but we'll say the Navi water tribe, the way of the water, and learning that ways and just being underwater. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, how did he film them? You said mocap suits, Steve? They were doing that underwater and actually filming, so that's remarkable. That's just insane. So, yeah, I would say, initially, I didn't think it was kind of gonna be worth the wait, but after seeing it and definitely wanting to see it again, I would say for sure. Just hopefully we don't have to wait 13 years for the next one because 'cause we'll be nearing 50 years old, guys.
Definitely need an
Pretty
intermission.
depressing when you say it like that, man.
Just wear a diaper at that age, you'll be okay.
Dude, one thing I think is funny though, because like I said, like for every reason you guys said, and it is almost so long that I do need to watch to like almost piece together things I might have missed in the first one. But one thing I think is kind of funny, I don't know why I just got like visuals, and obviously it's pretty apparent, but just the human boy who's left behind, who is that colonel's, he's a colonel, right? Who is the colonel's son?
Oh, yeah, we
But
definitely have spoilers. in this
But
Oh
time.
yeah.
yeah, and
We
definitely spoilers, but that dude parallels Tarzan in a lot of ways. And then also another big visual for me was like all the underwater, like sinking and feeling trapped reminded me so much of Titanic. I don't know if you guys felt like that too. And I was like, just kind of a funny. I was like, maybe he was kind of like nodding a little bit to some of those scenes, like when they were swimming around and trying to open up doors and stuff, and I couldn't help but just kind of get that feeling again and having it being James Cameron. But yeah, dude, a lot of spoilers that we're going to get into. And one that I will, that I kind of just opened up the can of worms on right there was the little boy in that Colonel from the first movie who has a clone now that is an avatar who is sent with a bunch of other Marines who are trying to infiltrate the Na'vi to find Jake Sully. And the Sky people are back now, and they're not trying to harvest whatever they were harvesting in the first movie. Now they want to inhabit this planet. And so that's essentially what we see in this movie, like in the first opening scenes, I guess. And yeah, dude, just knowing that guy is back, you know that it's gonna get deep into some shit and definitely some crazy fight scenes in this movie.
Did you guys like that he came back? I mean, I was a bit surprised. I mean, I didn't know the plot of the movie. And I was a little bit, as I mentioned earlier, I was a little bit confused. I'm like, oh, that's him. So what were your guys' thoughts of his return as a Navi avatar?
Yeah, I never checked like the cast list for this, so I didn't know that he was gonna be in it. If I did see him, I would assume just sort of flashbacks or something, but definitely surprised. A little bit disappointed. I mean, he is a great villain, and you do generally hate this guy, but just a little disappointed that it's kind of like the same story in a way again, just him hunting down the Navi and Jake Sully. So in the end, I was kind of hoping for a little bit different outcome.
Yeah, that definitely was the one that got me confused just a little bit because I didn't rewatch the movie right before, and then it flashbacked and showing him, and I was like, he fucking died. So I didn't connect the dots that they cloned him. I was confused about that. Um, I assume all of those mercenaries were clones. They weren't actually in the suit, that they would like transfer. I don't know if they did or not, but that was one thing I had to go back and look up. And James Cameron has a reason for everything. I thought maybe he could have found a different villain, but he was just like, "Well, let's just clone him and bring him back." And he's not the same person, but he has all his memories, and it was still
That
good, but it was that confusing moment.
I was a little confused. It didn't bother me though. I was like, whatever, because they have so much crazy technology. And I kind of liked that they just jumped right into it with the video explaining it all too, like right off the bat. And I was like, all right, cool. Like catching us up on what they're there to do and their mission. And that's where it was a little confusing because he was like showing himself and he's like, if you're seeing this, it means that I've been killed or whatever. And then even like you said, Fig, you mentioned off camera that it almost looked like his twin possibly or something. I almost felt the same way. It almost looked like
Jake,
another avatar of Jake Sully at first, but it wasn't. It turned out to be the guy, the evil colonel from the first movie. And just right off the bat, though, I kind of was like, oh, let's see how this plays out because they were all so ready and like, yes, now it's an even playing field. But I'm like, there's only like a handful of you versus an entire people that have the advantage of their planet and knowing everything about that. So I was like, well, we'll see how these guys fare. They are Marines, so maybe they'll just be some elite like in the shadows killing off people and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of how it set the backdrop. And I thought it was instantly setting them up for failure.
yeah, I would agree with you guys are saying, Steve, too. I was kind of hoping for some other type of threat, maybe something that is more earthbound, which there are a few things, not earthbound, but their planet, a threat from their planet. And there's a few things, as the first one had, some of the creatures living on, Pandora that were after them. So I was kind of hoping it was something different, maybe something more mystical and magical. And, as the plot went on, I'm like, I still enjoyed the movie, but there are a lot of kind of cliche sort of tropes in it. It kind of had I don't know, it reminded me of like a Disney Channel movie, like a family, with popular, sons and daughters that go to a different place and they're going through the same type of, things we've seen, multiple times. Like, oh, other kids are jealous of them. They have a sister who is different, and they have a little sister, kind of, the writing is a little bit sort of cliche in a lot of aspects. And, as you guys mentioned, Spider, the human child, kind of sort of had that Disney plot vibe to me. But I guess, it visually being stunning and the action of it kind of sort of lifted it up. You can kind of put the plot to the side and sort of turn your brain off for 3 hours and not really focus too much on it, because I mean the story was still, I would say, overall entertaining enough and good to keep the flow going. I'm just curious of what they're going to do for the third movie now, which, as we mentioned, spoilers, he Colonel Courtridge, you know survives, and it seems like he's going to be the threat for the third one. So I mean, what would you guys want to see for the third one? You think there's going to be the same thing over plot wise?
First of all, like with the first movie, I think the main problem was, of course, the story. Basically, it dances with wolves like a fern gully. But with this one, you care about the characters a lot more. You care about Jake Sully because of the children. So I'm glad it's kind of focused on the kids, which makes every scene just that much more emotional. So I did kind of like that, and it is basically a Disney movie, right? Um, but my question is about this. So, like, let's say the Colonel did die in the end, but don't they have his memories just stored? So, can't they just create another avatar of him again and again and again?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, if you watch this one show on Netflix, it was, they have their memory stored in a chip, so no matter if you die, they always transfer it. But I hope the third one will be totally different. They did build all these characters, so I hope they do continue that, but I could see definitely him being back, but hopefully him kind of being good or learning to be like, "Shit, I can't do this anymore," and then hopefully him teaming up with them or something, like, because if it's just the same thing, like, "I'm back with more people, and I'm gonna get you this time, Sully," then it might be a little cliche, but I could see him changing his ways, becoming one with
I
the
thought so as well.
I felt the same exact way, man. Almost like they kind of alluded to it a little bit by like his son saving him too, and him not being able to let her kill his son, when it's not really even technically his son. Uh, but I was like, yeah, if it wasn't a Disney movie, he would have been like, I don't give a fuck, and just like shoot him himself. Be like, I hate all of you. But,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, when he saved him in the end, it made me think the same exact thing, like, they're kinda setting it up for that next film where who knows what that next crisis will be, or even the people that are there who are still building right now while all of this is going on. I assume they, like, made a lot of headway on the civilization they're trying to build. They said those robots can build up a building in, like,
Oh, yeah,
hours
those,
or something.
crab-like
So
robots.
I mean, maybe while this whole conflict was happening off in the ocean, they've already built up a lot of shit. So maybe the next movie will be a shitload more of sky people coming through. And that dude in his avatar possibly now is going to be, like connecting with Pandora because he's able to connect in as if he is a native and stuff. And he will probably be like the same story as Jake Sully, as because I don't know how you can deny that once you've experienced it yourself. So definitely I can see that something like that happening to him and his character in the next film for sure.
Yeah. What would you guys say were a couple standout scenes to you? Like, just as you're watching it, as we mentioned, the graphics are amazing, but what would be a scene that stood out to you guys?
Off the top of my head, I think when the youngest son, he finds himself getting stuck behind and follows the dudes, and they go off deep into the water, and he gets stuck behind and meeting that rogue whale and kind of bonding with that and going through that whole scenario because it showed the deep water, and I was like, all right, it's an ocean. There's got to be some big fish here, some scary dudes, and of course it showed that one. Thank God. And you didn't really see much after that, but just that whole scene, I think, of him swimming through the coral and it just smashing through. I mean, just visually, it was dope, and it was really. I think it got me. That was the moment that really got me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, I would say just a little bit prior to that, the hint, Jake and all his family learning the way of the water, because they're forest dwellers. They're used to, I forget the flying creature's name, but communicating with the creatures on the earth, and they had to connect with these water creatures. So him and his family learning the ways of the water and being able to become divers and connect with these sea creatures. And as you mentioned, um, the whale creatures, and I'm slipping the name. They were like
Yeah.
tokens.
Tolkien.
Yeah,
Tolkien.
and which was just amazing. I like the aspect of, as the first one did, just them connecting with the world that they're living in, and just seeing all the underwater scenes, and the adopted sister who seems to have a type of you know closer connection with the mother, so to speak, of Pandora, and just her sort of, she felt like it looked like she had it easier to kind of get her way around the water than her brothers did and her little sister. But yeah, just them training and that whole montage kind of sequence of them, even Jake hopping on like the big one, and they're like, "Hey, maybe you should try the smaller one." And of course, he's like, "Nah, man." He's like, "I could take this big one." And just amazing to see those sequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I definitely liked all of those. For whatever reason, it's not like a very deep scene at all or anything like that. But I just visually remember seeing the guy's arm get ripped off, and I thought that was pretty fucking cool.
Oh yeah, for real.
But there was a lot. That was one thing, Fig, you kind of just talked about it, but I thought the daughter of Sigourney Weaver, somehow she had a daughter, and they all were hybrids, so they were like she had some special intense like connection with the planet and with the mother. What's her name? Awa or something? I forget. That's not it at all, dude.
Awa.
Awa. Okay, so it was close. But so she has a deep connection with Awa, and she's saying she can feel her so intensely and stuff. And she even has a seizure at one point. And the human doctor who comes through on his avatar is trying to say that she has something going on with her frontal lobe, and that's going to keep causing her as long as she plugs in with the planet. And with Awa, she's going to get hurt, or Awa, she's going to get hurt. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with her, because it seems like she really can harness like the power of the planet, and she seems like she's going to be the key to everything possibly eventually.
Alrighty, so that was Avatar: Way of the Water. Thank you for joining us on this movie review. Till next time, later days.
Catch you next time, guys.
See you later.
Adios, friends.